Just so you know, this bit of video is in response to Outside Extras, and that's XTRA, not EXTRA, Outside Extras list on 5 heartbreaking moments in video games. They each did one. I believe one of them talked about, I'm not going to say which ones because I don't want to put the spoiler warnings on everything. I will say this is a spoiler warning for Neverwinter Nights 2's original campaign, the King of Shadows campaign. And we'll get back into it. I've actually already recorded everything at this point, so we'll just get on to it.
Looks like this is the place, but where's it?
A tiefling? 2 of them? Did Maine send you? Whoever you are, you look a little too important to be wandering out here on your own, bothering with the common folk.
I'll say, we've gone too far out of our way already.
So, that's the first time you meet Chandra Jarrow. Pretty soon afterwards, in fact in the same conversation, this happens.
Not much more to tell, but if you want to help, let me just mark the ruins on your map. Why do you have that strange look on your face?
Because I'm being a bad hero and just watching people burn your home.
She takes the lizardmen raising her barn fairly well, I think, given the circumstances.
This farm is all I have. And now that my harvest is gone, and with winter coming... Look, if you're going to help, do it. I'm so tired of Neverwinter and Fort Locke and the militia and the Elder and all of them promising to help us out and nothing ever happening. Just once. Just this once. If you can actually do something for Highcliff, for the farmers here, it'd be long past due.
For the next bit of the game, a little bit later in Act 1, you end up learning that she is connected to a powerful wizard that might have information you need to stop the overall threat of the game, the big bad guy, the King of Shadows. And about the same time, the bad guys that are currently hunting you, the Act 1 villains, also learn that she's connected to this wizard that has information that they want. And you go race to rescue her and end up causing her house to be burned down. Well, you don't cause it. The bad guys burn down her house. And they were already going to before you showed up. But it still begins to look like you show up in her life and it gets ruined. Then you take her to your base of operations where she gets kidnapped and you go and rescue her again. At which point she decides she is going to follow you around and become an adventurer. And she's a rather credible dexterity-based fighter. I tend to suggest going double short sword with two weapon fighting short sword with her. Shield and short sword works fairly well as well. But she becomes a rather reliable fighter in your team and expands your party size from maximum of 4 characters to a maximum of 5 characters. So all's good. And she helps you investigate this matter. You get accused of slaughtering an entire village. She helps you investigate you and clear your name. She speaks for you at trial. There are some sweet little bits that seem to be leading towards her being a romantic option, and realize the Obsidian company came out of BioWare, so you're thinking it's sort of the same sort of thing. And because Neverwinter Nights, the first Neverwinter Nights was done by BioWare and had sort of romance options, kind of. But anyway, you're going along, and she's kind of this hapless bystander who's there for a little bit of exasperation of, look at all this, just the slightly outside character to always just point out about things. There's a point where you've been made lord or lady of a castle, and you're holding court, and somebody makes a commentary about saving a cat or helping an old woman across the street, and she makes the comment and says, if the captain had been doing it, the tree would have been chopped down, the house would have burned down, and the old woman would be traveling with us by now, or something along those lines. She's very snarky, very much comic relief oriented, very nice character, very wonderful character, very enjoyable. And then you finally track down her grandfather's haven, the one you're looking for with all the information, which is where things start going wrong.
There. It's done. Now what?
What happens is Chandra Jarrow is related to the person who created the Haven, and thus she is able to tap into some of its powers, even though she's not really in control of it. So when she becomes accepted by the Haven, she accidentally mind wanders a little bit, and she accidentally teleports herself in while you have to walk.
Set your will to it. See what you are capable of. Imagine traveling elsewhere within the Haven and so the chase begins. Not a moment too soon, it seems. More guests are about to arrive.
That cutscene, what I just pulled that little clip from, gets triggered when you are about to walk into that room. So where she says more guests are about to arrive, it means that if Chandra had stayed focused and or stayed there for a couple seconds longer, you would have walked into that door. And you would be together as a group. And maybe things would have gone a lot better. It turns out, see, what you're trying to do, you start becoming your character, at least. As a player, you're fairly certain this is not the case. But as a character, you start thinking that this haven has been taken over by the King of Shadows, the big bad of the game. That this wizard that is here in this haven is the big bad of the game. This is what you start thinking. And you're trying to get around to come fight him. And Chandra's off on her own, so you're trying to save her. And you've been given some advice by one of the devils, and yes, I know listening to devils is a bad idea, but they want out. Some of the devils and demons, that if you can convince them to direct you to the center of the haven, you can get them to alter the portal. They can get you to the center of the haven, and you can fight the bad guy. This goes reasonably well to start with. You do end up getting to the center. And let's see. And once you get to the center, there is a brief little bit of combat to give you the sense that you can actually fight. And when you get the warlock down to near death, or, I guess kill him, it triggers another cutscene where he starts kicking your ass. Relatively speaking, most of it happens off camera because Neverwinter Nights 2's cutscene mechanics are basically just scripted controls of the in-game avatar, so they're not really given to very cinematic things. And while this has been going on, Chandra's been going around talking to the devils and demons herself, and stops in front of a Balor after talking to all the other demons and devils, because there's 3 demons and 3 devils, and she decides that she's going to listen to their advice as well. It goes just as well for her as it did for us. The advice the devils gave us led us straight into a suicidal fight that we couldn't win.
There's no way I'm letting you die. Not after all we've been through. What do I need to do?
The advice the devils give her is that she has to bleed on all the summoning circles, because she has Jarrow blood. Her blood is the same as the wizard who created the Haven. Therefore, her blood can break all the summoning circles. So she starts using the power the Haven gives her to teleport to the different places and bleed all over them. Has predictable results. It does work. I'm fairly certain they didn't tell her that. They told her, as they implied, that she had to give more blood than she ended up doing. But it would have been even if they had been completely honest, the end results are this happening.
You, girl! You did this!
My friends, are they...
Your friends live, but you will not! You destroyed my summoning circles! You set the deadliest creatures in the lower realms free! You have weakened me, and in so doing, you have earned death.
I know, Grandfather. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
So yeah, it turns out that the wizard the warlock, I should say, you're fighting in this case isn't the King of Shadows as we all thought. It is the supposedly humble and reserved court wizard that vanished 50-some years ago, who wouldn't hurt a fly and was always very gentle and all this other stuff you've heard from some people. And yeah, that's her great-grandfather, and he pops up and kills her. There's nothing you can do, and I'm going to let the NPCs I had with me for this save file sum up my thoughts on the matter.
He killed Chandra! Let's gut him!
Get up, you cowardly dog! Face us!
Chandra, her life. I can't even feel it. It's gone.
This isn't even the worst of it. This is the end of Act 2 for this game. This isn't even the worst part of this particular moment, because you come to another situation where I'm going to do one last clip.
The will of Armangero is broken, and this makes him dangerous. But no, it also makes him of use.
So yeah, here's the deal. Armangero, the warlock, has completed 1 out of the 5 parts of the ritual you need to weaken the big bad guy, the real King of Shadows. So you need him alive, because if he dies, the King of Shadows can't be weakened enough for us to affect him. He's one of 2 characters, the other being that Githzerai cleric you just saw in that clip. He's one of 2 characters capable of using a set of particular items that make some of the monsters you run across in Act 3 actually killable. If you don't have either of them, and the game requires you to choose one to bring, I usually bring the cleric because I hate him. If you don't have one of them, then you can't take out the Shadow Reaver things, because they're unkillable without someone around capable of reading their true names. And so for the rest of the game, you have that guy on your list of potential companions. And he hangs out in your castle. And you have to bring him with you on certain missions. Now, there is a point where you can, assuming you have enough of you had gotten to know his granddaughter well enough and got enough of her friendship, you can, after saving him from demons, you can, and I have no idea why I would, except for the fact that, yeah, he has to stay alive for us to win. After saving him from demons, you can have a conversation with him and convince him that he took the wrong path, and that while everything he did was to try to protect the world from the King of Shadows, In the end, he just made things worse. You can. But the game makes you work with him for the rest of that game. And I am understood he shows up in the sequel campaign, which I'm Let's Playing right now, which I'm going to love it when he shows up again. So yeah, this is, and I'll probably do another little clip at the beginning to say what this is a response to. Anyway, that's my experience with Heartbreak in video games.